I hit the floor before I ever reached the stage. One moment I was walking toward my master's degree, the next I was staring up at ceiling lights while voices blurred around me. The doctors called my parents. They never came. Lying in the ER, still in my gown, my phone lit up with a tag from my sister, a smiling backyard photo captioned "Family Day" without the drama. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Days later, still hooked to machines, I finally unlocked my phone. And what I saw made me realize collapsing wasn't the worst part of that day. My name is Maria Bennett, and I learned early that in my family, love came with conditions I never agreed to. I grew up in a small Pennsylvania neighborhood where front porches glowed warm at night and every holiday looked picture perfect from the outside. Inside our house, though, I always felt like I was walking around a draft that no one else seemed to notice. My mother, Linda, built her world around my younger sister, Emily. She called her delicate, sensitive someone who just needed a little extra. My father, Richard, had his own script for me. "Maria, you're the dependable one. You're stronger than most." He meant it as praise, but it felt like a job description I never applied for. Whenever something needed to be fixed, solved, or absorbed quietly, it landed at my feet. I remember tying Emily's hair for school because Mom was running late again. I remember taking the blame for a shattered vase because Emily cried faster than I could explain. Her birthdays were full productions, pink banners, cupcakes, 20 kids in the yard. Mine were quiet affairs with a small cake on a paper plate, a promise they were too tired to keep. "We'll celebrate properly next year." Next year never came. One winter when I was running a fever high enough to make the room spin, I waited on the sofa for someone to sit with me. Instead, Mom zipped Emily into her recital costume and Dad asked me to be a good sport while they rushed out the door. The house dimmed as evening settled and I lay there listening to the heater clicking, trying not to cry, because I already knew no one would hear me. That was the rhythm of my childhood, Emily receiving softness, me receiving expectations. And somewhere in that rhythm, I learned to equate silence with strength. Leaving for college in Boston felt like stepping into air that actually moved. I worked 2 jobs, studied late nights, and built a life that belonged to me for the first time. Still, the calls from home trailed after me like a long shadow. "We're behind on the electric bill. Emily's card is maxed. Your sister needs help this month." And every time I sent what I could, sometimes what I couldn't. Because that old line, "You're strong," still lived under my skin, whispering that my needs came last. Boston also gave me people who noticed things my family never had. Jenna, the coworker who'd shove a cup of soup into my hands and tell me to stop apologizing for being tired. Mark, who frowned when I swayed during a shift change. And Dr. Lane, who didn't need more than 2 sentences from me to say, "You carry too much, far too much." But even with all that, I kept going. I kept stretching myself thinner. I kept promising I'd rest after graduation, after one more shift, after things calmed down. I didn't realize I was building toward a breaking point, not until the day my body finally chose for me. The months leading up to graduation felt like living inside a tightening vice. Every day started before sunrise and ended long after the last train rumbled past my apartment windows. I worked full-time at the hospital, picked up weekend shifts at the cafe, and squeezed my master's coursework into whatever scraps of time were left. People told me I was impressive. I didn't feel impressive. I felt like a candle burning from both ends in the middle. The trouble at home didn't slow down to match my pace. It sped up. Mom called first. "We're short on the water bill this month. Your dad's hours got cut." A few days later, my phone buzzed again. "Emily, I messed up Maria. My rent's late. Can you cover it just this once?" It was never once. Then came a car repair, a payment, a maxed-out card, another emergency. Always urgent, always landing on my shoulders. Some nights I held my phone and stared at the total in my bank account, feeling the math crush me, but I always hit transfer. That same old guilt, "You're strong, Maria," kept my finger from ever saying no. My body tried to warn me something was wrong. Little warnings at first. A shake in my hands while charting patient notes. A wave of dizziness when I stood too fast. A pressure in my chest after a 12-hour shift. I blamed coffee. I blamed stress. I blamed anything but the truth I was running on fumes. Jenna noticed before I did. "Maria, you okay? You look pale." "I'm just tired," I said. It wasn't a lie. It just wasn't the whole truth. One evening after a brutal double shift, I collapsed into the break room chair and checked my phone. A notification flashed across the screen, a tag from Emily. I tapped it expecting a meme or something random. Instead, it was a photo of my entire family gathered around a grill in our backyard. Plates of food, laughing faces, sunlight warm on everyone's skin. The caption read, "Family Day without the drama." I felt something inside me dip like a floorboard giving way. Not anger, not yet, just a cold, hollow ache. I didn't comment. I didn't ask why she tagged me. I just turned off my screen and pressed my thumb into the edge of the table until it hurt. Later that night, while walking home, the world tilted. The sidewalk swayed under my feet. I grabbed a railing and waited for the dizziness to pass. My pulse hammered in my ears. I told myself it was exhaustion. I told myself to keep going. I told myself it would be fine after graduation. But there was another one that stayed with me. I was charting vitals in the ER when the room blurred. I blinked hard, but the numbers on the screen doubled, then tripled. Mark touched my arm lightly. "Maria, you need to sit down." "I'm okay," I whispered. I wasn't. I kept pushing. I kept ignoring the signals. I kept promising myself just one more week, one more shift, one more assignment, one more emergency bill. I didn't know it then, but I was counting down to the moment everything inside me would finally snap. The morning of my graduation felt unreal, like I was moving through a world made of glass. Boston was bright and sharp that day, sunlight bouncing off campus buildings, banners fluttering in the wind, families crowding the lawn with balloons and flowers. Everyone looked alive, excited, whole. I told myself I was fine. I smiled when classmates waved. I adjusted my gown even though my hands trembled. My heart beat too fast, too hard, like it was trying to warn me of something I refused to hear. I checked my phone for any message from home. Nothing. When the ceremony started, the dean's voice echoed across the field. Graduates rose row by row, walking toward the stage as applause rolled like a wave. I kept scanning the bleachers left, right top row, bottom row, searching for my family. There were empty seats, but not for me. Mine were never intended to be filled. Then suddenly, a vibration in my pocket. A text from Mom: "Traffic is bad. We'll get there soon." Another one. Seconds later, "Go ahead, we'll catch up." I tucked my phone away, pretending it didn't sting. Maria Bennett. My name floated through the speakers. I stood. My knees wobbled. The stage lights blurred. I forced my feet forward, one step, two, until the world tilted hard to the side. A roar filled my ears. The grass, the chairs, the faces, they all swirled. I collapsed before I reached the first stair. Gasps erupted. Footsteps rushed toward me. Someone shouted for help. A coldness crawled across my fingers as sensation slipped away. Then nothing. When I woke, antiseptic filled my lungs. Machines beeped in slow, steady rhythms. A warm blanket lay across my legs and an IV needle tugged at my arm. The ER ceiling came into focus as voices murmured around me. Dr. Whitman leaned close. "Maria, you fainted from severe exhaustion. Stress, dehydration, heart strain, you've pushed your body too far. You're lucky you didn't collapse somewhere alone." His words didn't frighten me. They confirmed something I'd tried to outrun. "Did my parents—" "Come," I whispered. He hesitated just long enough to tell me everything. We called them several times, left messages. No one arrived. Silence swallowed the room. Not the painful kind, the revealing kind. Hours later, when my hands finally stopped shaking, I reached for my phone. There it was, a new notification. Emily had tagged me in a photo. My breath caught as I opened it. My family stood around the grill in our backyard, laughing, holding plates stacked with food. Emily in the center, smiling wide. The caption, "Family Day without the drama." I stared at it until my chest tightened again, not from condition, but from clarity. They didn't miss my ceremony. They didn't get stuck in traffic. They chose not to come. A slow, controlled exhale left my body. For the first time, it wasn't out of resignation. It was the beginning of something shifting, something cracking open, and yet, the real breaking point hadn't happened. Not yet. Not until days later when my strength was still failing and my phone lit up with 75 missed calls from home. The first thing I noticed was the vibration. Soft at first, then relentless buzzing against the metal side table like it was trying to shake the room awake. I'd only been home from the hospital for a few hours, still pale, still dizzy, still moving like someone whose body didn't fully trust her anymore. Boston's evening light filtered through my blinds, soft and gold, brushing over the stack of discharge papers beside my bed. Buzz, buzz, buzz. I ignored it until it became impossible. When I finally grabbed my phone, the screen nearly blinded me. 75 missed calls. Mom, Dad, home, Emily, over and over like a chant. My stomach knotted, not fear, not guilt, something colder. I didn't call back, not yet. Instead, I scrolled. The messages loaded in waves. Why aren't you answering? This is serious. Maria, pick up. You can't just disappear. We need you now. Emily is in trouble. I exhaled slowly. Of course it was about Emily. It was always about Emily. But when I reached the earlier messages, the truth twisted sharper. They hadn't tried contacting me during the collapse, or the ER stay, or the silence afterward. No, they only cared once their problem reached my doorstep. I scrolled further. A photo from Dad, a screenshot of a bank notice, another blurry papers, bills, payments, a loan, a large one. My eyes froze. My name was on it, my signature, except it wasn't, not the way I signed, not the curves I controlled. A scan, an old one, the one I used years ago on a rental form back home. They'd copied it. I felt my breath catch, but instead of panic, something startlingly steady rose in me. They forged my name. And now, the bank wanted my confirmation. Without it, the loan would fall back on them, their property, their accounts, their mess. And they knew that. That's why they were calling. I wasn't their daughter in that moment. I was leverage. I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I texted one person. Can you come over? I need you. 20 minutes later, Jenna walked into my apartment with takeout soup and the kind of presence that steadied a collapsing world. Her eyes scanned my face, my posture, my shaking hands. What happened? I handed her my phone. She read in silence. Her jaw tightened. Maria, this is serious. They can't do this to you. This is fraud. The word hit me like a bell, clear, undeniable. Fraud. The thing I'd been too conditioned to name. Jenna sat on the edge of my bed. We're not letting them trap you again. Not this time. She helped me open my laptop. We pulled up the messages, the papers, the timelines, and for the first time in my life, I didn't defend my family, or excuse them, or rationalize. For the first time, I let the truth stand. They used me, I whispered. They always have, Jenna replied softly. Later that night, still weak, still aching, I joined a video call with a financial attorney she recommended. I held my phone with both hands so it wouldn't shake. When he saw the documents, he sighed heavily. This is unauthorized use of your information. You don't owe them a single dollar. What they did is illegal. Illegal. There it was, cold and blunt. I felt something in my chest loosen, like a fist finally opening. The attorney walked me through my options, steps, protections, boundaries I didn't know I was allowed to have. Then he said, if they contact you again, tell them you're aware of the forgery and will not participate. The words terrified me and freed me. When the call ended, I sat there surrounded by silence and new air. Jenna squeezed my hand. You're not alone. For the first time, I believed it. The next morning, the sun barely risen, my phone rang again. My parents' number. Jenna nodded at me. Speaker, I answered. Mom's voice exploded through the phone. Maria, finally. Do you have any idea how stressed we've been? Why didn't you answer? I leaned back on the couch, steadying my breath. I was in the hospital, I said calmly. A beat. Silence. Then Mom cleared her throat. Well, yes, but Emily is in a crisis and we need you to focus. There it was. The truth uncloaked. Dad's voice boomed next. You need to call the bank. Today. They won't talk to us without you. Your sister's future is on the line. I didn't flinch. Dad, you used my signature without my permission. A long, suffocating pause. Mom jumped in. We only did it because you're responsible. You can handle it better than Emily. Stop being dramatic. Jenna's eyes widened at that word. Dramatic. The same word Emily used in her photo caption while I lay in the ER. I swallowed, but my voice stayed level. I'm not signing anything, Dad snapped. Excuse me, I'm not signing, I repeated. I'm not covering the loan. I'm not fixing this. You have to, Mom shrieked. We could lose everything. Maria, think about your family. I closed my eyes. I did, my whole life. Dad's tone hardened, sharp as metal. If you don't help, we're finished. Jenna leaned toward me, whispering, Say it, and I did. I spoke to an attorney. What you did is illegal. If you continue contacting me about this loan, I'll take legal action. The silence that followed felt bottomless. Then Dad growled, You're threatening us. I'm protecting myself. Mom's voice cracked, shifting from anger to pleading. We need you. Please. A year ago, that would have broken me. Now it only revealed the truth. They didn't need me. They needed what I provided. I drew a breath. I'm done being the solution to problems I didn't create. I'm done being your safety net. I'm done being the strong one so Emily never has to grow up. Maria, Mom choked out. No, I said, not anymore. Then I hit the red button. The call ended. Clean, final. Jenna let out a shaky exhale. You did it. My hands trembled, but not from fear, from release. That afternoon, I spent hours removing myself from every account, every automatic payment, every shared bill. I called companies, closed access, reset passwords, documented everything. Each step felt like cutting a new thread that had tied me to a life built on obligation. By sunset, for the first time in 27 years, I was free. I stood by my window, the city glowing under the purple sky, and whispered a truth that tasted like oxygen. I'm not their answer anymore. And as the last light slipped behind the skyline, I knew part 6 of my story wasn't just about consequences waiting for them. It was the beginning of consequences finally ending for me. Recovery didn't arrive like a miracle. It came in small, steady breaths. I kept going to therapy. I slept more than I had in years. I learned how to say no without my heart racing. My body slowly forgave me for everything I'd forced it to carry. News about my family reached me through distant neighbors. The loan defaulted. The bank stepped in, and Emily had to face the legal consequences herself. For once, I wasn't the cleanup crew. Meanwhile, my life in Boston shifted into something gentler. I moved into a small studio drenched in morning light. I took a new clinical job that valued boundaries. Jenna became my emergency contact, my real family, in every way that mattered. One evening, walking home past blooming trees, I realized my chest felt light. I wasn't waiting for another crisis. I was finally living my own life. I sometimes think back to that day on the graduation stage, the moment my body made the decision my heart was too afraid to choose. It forced me to stop to see the truth, to walk away. And now, standing in my own life, surrounded by people who show up without being asked, I understand something clearly. Choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. If this story touched something in you, share your thoughts in the comments. And if you've ever rebuilt your life from the ground up, you're not alone. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next story.